Arkham Horror, the card game, the Dunwich Legacy. Their hand is at your throats, yet ye see them not. I'm going to burn his accursed diary, and if you men are wise, you'll dynamite that altar stone up there and pull down all the rings of standing stones on the other hills. Things like that brought down the beings those Watleys were so fond of. H.P. Lovecraft, The Dunwich Horror. Prologue. Dr. Henry Armitage pours himself a glass of Pignon and sits down at his desk, gesturing for you to sit across from him. I apologize for the short notice, he begins. His face is pale, his forehead sweaty and wrinkled with worry. Armitage, the head librarian of Miskatonic University and a former mentor of yours, privately contacted you in the hopes of gaining your assistance. Eager to help, you made your way to his home in Southside. Upon entering, you were surprised to find his home in disarray. Books and notes litter his desk, and an empty bottle of wine has tipped over onto the ground by the fireplace. You'd always known Armitage to be neat and well organized. The elderly man takes a moment to collect his thoughts. I am looking for two of my colleagues, Dr. Francis Morgan, professor of archaeology, and Warren Rice, professor of languages. Warren was supposed to meet up with me over supper earlier today to discuss several important findings, but he has gone since missing. At first I thought nothing of it, but I have a nagging feeling something else is going on, a very familiar feeling. You've never seen Armitage quite this worried before. His hands tremble as he reaches for the glass on his desk, and he sips from it nervously. I tried to find Francis, hoping he knew where Warren was, but he too was out of touch. Francis has been spending a lot of time in some gambling den, or so I am told. I sent for you because I am worried Warren might be in trouble. I would appreciate it greatly if you could find him for me. You may also wish to ask Francis for help if you can reach him. Professor Warren Rice was last seen working late at night in the humanities department of Miskatonic University. You can search for him there, or Dr. Francis Morgan was last seen gambling at the Clover Club, an upscale speakeasy and gambling joint located downtown. We can talk to him there. Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity. Dr. Armitage is worried his colleague, Professor Warren Rice, might be in trouble, so he has asked for your help in finding his friend. He seems unreasonably nervous about his colleague's disappearance, considering Professor Rice has only been missing for a matter of hours. Hello, everybody. Arkham Horror, the card game, the Dunwich Legacy. This is the beginning of the this is the first expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game. And we're going to play Scenario 1A tonight, and that is Extracurricular Activity. So it looks like we have to go find Professor Warren Rice. It's going to be up to Agnes Baker. She is going to be the investigator for this mission. And since unfortunately Roland Banks didn't make it in the from Night of the Zealot, so we move on to our second one, and that will be Agnes. So we got to find Warren Rice, and we got to see what's going to happen here. So we shall, hopefully, we'll be able to do a good job. Hopefully, we'll do better than the last time, because the last time Umerhoff pretty much terrorized Arkham for the rest of eternity, I guess. So hopefully, we do better now. So we begin this. We begin this adventure here at the Miskatonic Quad. A too early winter has stripped the trees bare. Their dead branches whistle as a sharp, cold wind cuts across the empty quad. So we got to go find somebody. So let's see what the agenda says first. Agenda 1A. You have arrived at the Miskatonic University campus in search of Professor Warren Rice. Classes are over, and a mysterious silence hangs in the air over the quad. So the doom level is 7. Act 1A, Professor Rice was last seen several hours ago by one of Armitage's students in the Humanities building. So that's apparently what we got to do. We need 3 clues to activate the act. We got 7 doom to deal with here in the quiet halls of Miskatonic University. So I've already chosen the 5 cards. So pretty much we've already got our 5 cards here. And it's Agnes Baker is a mystic and a rogue. And I decided, now the thing about Knight of the Zealot was that was a starter deck used by Roland Banks. And I probably will replay that story utilizing my own deck, because this time I went ahead and did not use a starter deck for Agnes Baker. So this deck here, all right, is my own creation, and we'll see how we do. Welcome, Steeler fan, to Arkham Horror Saturday night. So let's begin the Miskatonic quad, and of course we flip it over. Surrounded by fences and gates of wrought iron, you can't help but feel as much a prisoner here as a guest. There are no clues in the Miskatonic quad, even though the shroud level is a 3. And the shroud level is a 3 here. So here we have an action to resign. We can't find Rice anywhere. We can leave the campus, hoping Armitage will forgive us, but let's see what we can do here. So Agnes Baker is our investigator for this time. We start with 5 resources. And her special thing is, after 1 or more horror is placed on Agnes Baker, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location limit once per phase. And if the Elder sign comes up, we get +1 for each horror on Agnes Baker. So actually, getting her a little bit of horror is not a bad thing. But let's see how we do, shall we? So we begin. Our first action, of course, is we gotta see what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna take a trip. First thing I'm gonna do is we gotta have something here to deal with. So I'm gonna play 2 resources to put out the baseball bat, because we know we're gonna have to deal with some enemies. And the baseball bat gives us +2 for the attack, which she needs help desperately, because her combat is only a 2. So it gets +2 for the attack, and this attack deals +1 damage. If a skull or a automatic fail shows up, the bat is broken, so you discard it. So that is the first action. Second action, we're gonna see what we got to do here. Now the Miskatonic quad, we can pretty much go anywhere here, as you can see. So the first thing they said that was last in the Humanities building. So let's see, can we get straight to the Humanities building? The answer is no, because you notice Humanities, well, actually, yes, we can. So Miskatonic quad, we're going to go to the Humanities building first. So our second action is move to the Humanities building. Professor Rice was last seen in the Humanities building, teaching one of his Latin classes. The murky windows of the weather-worn structure emit no light, and the night is silent around you. So we reveal it. And there are 2 clues there. The power is out, plunging the building's halls into heavy darkness. There is no sign of Professor Rice. So Humanities building is where we're at now. And we got 2 clues. The shroud level's a 3, and her intelligence is only a 2. So that's not really good. Her problem is her strength really is willpower here. So we're going to have to try to get a clue here. So for our third action, we're going to utilize this card here. Look what I found, but this gives us 2 extra to help us. So it's 2 + 2 is 4. So we're going to go ahead for our third action here and find out what's up. Or actually, we won't do that. I got a better idea. This is a good card, actually. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to utilize... We're just going to go ahead. Here's what we're going to do, because I think here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I'll show you how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm expecting to fail this. So the shroud level's a 3. She has a 2. So let's see. For our third investigation, we go ahead and we roll. That is a 17. We re-roll. 16 and 19 is a re-roll. 6, and that's a 0. So we didn't. That was 2 over 3. We didn't get it. Now what we do is we play this card. Look what I found. We pay 2 cost for it. It doesn't cost an action. So after you play, it says fast. Play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less while investigating. Discover 2 clues in your location. Oh, it's only by 2 or less. And we failed it by 1, so I can't use it. All right, never mind. Never mind. I thought I could use it. I failed only by 1, not by 2. So we won't going to use it. So that's our third action. All right. So as I said, still learning the game a little bit. All right. So nothing happening there. So we move to the humanities building. We're trying to get some clues. We got to get 3 clues to advance the act. All right. So there's no enemies. So we draw a card and we get kukri, which is a nice little weapon. And we get a resource. All right, so Mythos phase. Doom goes on the track. And we draw a card, and it is Mysterious Chanting. Place 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it. Shuffle the encounter deck. Wonderful. So we got to search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy. How about that? And guess what? That is not supposed to be in the deck. I got the wrong in the deck. That is not supposed to be in there. Give me a second. That is not supposed to be in the deck. Timeout on the field, or in this case, on the board. That should not be in there. There are no cultists in this one. I was wondering why it was still in there. So yeah. So give me a moment as I'll get rid of that, because that shouldn't have been in there. So not off to a good start, I guess, for some Saturday night horror, as that should not have been in there for some reason. It goes there. So I guess something made it out from the other deck. So we'll redraw. We'll go ahead and redraw. And now we get a locked door. All right, that's a little different. And I think locked doors is supposed to be in this. It is. Okay. So locked door. Attach a location with the most clues and without a locked door attached. The attached location cannot be investigated. Test 4 strength to break down the door or 4 agility to pick the locks. Succeed to locked door. So great. So we now get a locked door. That's even worse probably. So we have a locked door of the humanities building now, with 2 clues underneath it. So now I can't. So now I got to deal with the locked door first. All right. Wonderful. At least there's no enemies, though. Okay. So investigation phase. Now I got to deal with a locked door. Well, we got to deal with it. So we can test 4 willpower to break the door or 4 agility to pick the locks. Her agility is a 3. And for my first action, I'm going to go ahead and play a resource and put out the Rabbit's Foot as an asset. After you fail a skill test, you can exhaust Rabbit's Foot and draw a card. They claimed it would bring me good luck. I wouldn't say that's true, but now I feel like it would be even worse luck to get rid of it. So that's our first action, get the rabbit's foot out. That'll help us. So if we fail a test, I can draw a card. And let's see what we got here. All right, so the second test, we got to try to get through this locked door. So we got a 3. And we're going to use, we got a 2 as attack. We're going to use the kukri and the fire axe, which will give us 2. So that'll give us +2. So that's a 4. So 4 over 4 in order to break through the door for our second action. That is a 15. It is a tablet. It is a tablet, and there is no tablet actually on this thing. So let me see why. Let me see if there was supposed to be a tablet. No, there's not supposed to be a tablet. So actually the tablet would become a re-roll. So that's a re-roll actually. So no tablet. So I'm going to cross that out. And now it will be 15 to 19. So that's a re-roll. Not prepared tonight. We'll redo that again. Re-roll. That is a 10, and that is a -1. So that was 2 minus, so that was what? That was 4. That was 4 over 4. -1 is a 3 over 4. We fail. But after we fail a skill test, we can exhaust the rabbit's foot and draw a card, which we'll do. So we draw a card and get unexpected courage. And for our third action, well, here, we're going to do something a little dumb. We're going to go ahead and play a 0 event. It's called Drawn to the Flame. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. H.P. Lovecraft, The Call of Cthulhu. So we're going to go ahead and draw the top card in the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at our location. It is not investigating, so you get these 2 clues anyway. It's not an investigation. As it says, the attached locator cannot be investigated, but we're going to discover the 2 clues. So we're going to draw the top card in the encounter deck. Office of Power, Peril. You must either choose one, draw 2 cards, and place 2 doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance or take to horror. A voice inside your head offers you power for a price. Well, you know what? I'm going to take 2 horror because, believe it or not, horror actually helps her out for a little bit. So we're going to take 2 horror on her. But we get the 2 clues. That was our third action. So that's what we do here. BB and Brian Patterson joins us here for some Arkham Horror Saturday night. So even though there was a locked door, Agnes Baker does get the 2 clues that helps us out. And that was the third action. So there are no enemies. So we'll reset the actions and ready the exhausted cards. And we draw a card getting ritual candles. And we get a resource. Trying to find where Professor Rice is right now. All right, Mythos phase. Doom goes on the agenda as we're here at Miskatonic University. And let's see, we draw an encounter card, and it is Visions of Futures Past. Revelation, test 5 willpower. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. Are these visions of things to be, or things as they might be? Or could these horrors have already happened? So we got to test 5 willpower. Now her willpower is 5. That's her strength. So we test 5 willpower is what we're going to do. And let's see. So we'll test 5 willpower. So it's 5 on 5. That is a 19. We re-roll. 18, re-roll. 6. That's a 0. We succeed. The 6 here is a 0, so there was no change. So, and we're playing on easy level, by the way, guys. So 5 on 5, that is a 0, so we don't lose anything. So Agnes did a good job this time. All right, so we got the clues out of the humanities building. Don't have to worry about the locked door anymore. So now we can move on to the next one here. So let's see what we're going to do here. So from the humanities building, we can go back to the Miskatonic Quad, or we can go to the Orne Library. So that's where we're going to go. So our first action is I'm going to go ahead and put out the ritual candles. Actually, I can't, because a baseball bat is a two-handed, and ritual candles actually uses one. I can't use that. So I'll put out the ritual candles. Can't use it yet. So first action, we'll move to the Orne. We'll go ahead and move to the Orne Library. 3 floors of weathered gray granite. The library looks more like a reliquary than a place of learning. Stone gargoyles snarl down from above arched windows, and Latin script winds. Latin script winds around the double doors at the top of a wide set of stone steps. So our first action was there, and we go to here, and there is a clue there. You must spend 1 additional action to investigate the Orne Library. The Orne Library is a labyrinth of dusty bookshelves and poorly lit halls. So we must spend 1 additional action to investigate the library. So it's going to cost 2 actions to investigate here, and there is a victory if we get that clue. All right, so it's going to take 2 actions to investigate the library. The Shroud is a 3, and she only has intelligence at 2. So let's see what we do here. So, So second and third action, we investigate the library, and we're going to use this card, Unexpected Courage, which is a wild card, and that gives we're going to use that as 2 for investigation. So that's going to give us a 2 plus 2 is 4. So 4 investigation over 3. That is a 12, and it's a skull. And a skull is -1. If you fail, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Well, it's -1, so as a 4, -1 is 3. 3 over 3, we succeed. So we get the third clue. So we already have the 3 clues here to move after hours forward. So not too bad, and we get a victory point. And I'll go ahead and put that to the side here, as we have 1 victory point for me to keep track of. That's 1. All right, so we're going to go. So that was our third action, but it doesn't cost us an action to advance the act. So we're going to spend the 3 clues right now and advance the act. So let's see what we come up. So we advance the act. The head janitor. You were unable to find Professor Rice, but one of the students you spoke with mentioned a strange man entering Rice's office. Unfortunately, the door leading to the faculty offices is locked at this late hour. The student says that the head janitor, Jazz, might be able to let you in if you can find him. Shuffle the encounter discard pile and the set aside Jazz Mulligan into the encounter deck. Okay. So we're going to have to find the janitor. So the janitor is right here, and that is Jazz Mulligan. So we now shuffle him in here. And I'm showing you that I'm shuffling it. ID Jester joins us here for some Arkham Horror. This is Extracurricular Activity, the first scenario 1A of the Dunwich Legacy. Agnes Baker is our investigator for this mission. So, Act 2A, Rice's whereabouts. Concerned for Professor Rice's safety, you seek out the head janitor, who can let you into the locked sections of the campus. We can spend a clue, discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck, top 10 instead if there is one player in the game, which is me. Forced, if you discard Jazz Mulligan for any reason, resolve as revelation effect. Objective, when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, we advance. Okay. So we got to, so wherever Jazz Mulligan is here in this deck is where we got to go ahead and do it. And good to see you, Jester. I was watching your D-Day dice. Looks interesting, got to admit. All right, so we got to find the janitor, but that was our third action, so we got to reset the actions. There's no enemies, so we go to the upkeep. So we go ahead and draw a card, and that is a knife. Always good to have, and we get a resource. So Agnes Baker will continue her journey. So now we go to the Mythos phase. So the third Doom goes on here, and we draw a card, and it is Ancient Evils. I hate this card. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Dark forces stir against you. If you do not act quickly, a sinister plot will be fulfilled. So now there's 4 Doom on Quiet Halls, and these Ancient Evils cards is what pretty much ended our chances of winning, of knocking out the Knight of the Zealot campaign. What is Agnes' special ability? After 1 or more horror is placed on Agnes Baker, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. So, and for effect, for her Elder Sign, you get +1 for each horror on Agnes Baker. She has 6 health and 8 horror. She has 2 horror on her already, which makes sense. So now she's got the +3 when the Elder Sign rolls up, which would be a natural 20 on the die. But any more horror is placed on her while she's engaged with an enemy. She deals a damage to that enemy in the location. So Agnes Baker does have some ability to fight, but her weakness, though, is intelligence and combat. And this is not a starter deck. This is my own creation here with the basic cards utilized. And the only cards I'm using are from the core set and the Dunwich Legacy. As I move through the packs is where I'll add cards if I can, where I may make changes and such. So now, of course, if a investigator is defeated or killed, then we just have a resolution and we go from there. And the next investigator will take over. The mission is to try to get through all the scenarios of Arkham Horror without all the investigators going crazy or killed. Roland Banks is already dead. All right, so here we go back to extracurricular activity. So so now she has to try to find the janitor. And we have to get clues. So we got to find clues. So we're in the Orne Library. And let's see, we're going to move from the Orne Library to, let's see, we got to go back to the quad. So the Orne Library will take us to the quad. So that's the first action. And the second action, we're going to move to the, let's move to the science building. Second action, move to the science building. The science building dominates the eastern side of the campus. Its windows are dark, save for a lone window shining faintly in the corner of the basement. So we move to the science building and we drop it up. And forced, after science building is revealed, put the set-aside alchemy labs into play. Okay, so the alchemy labs come into play now. So we'll move these over a bit. And here is the alchemy labs. Forced, when you fail a willpower test in the science building, take 1 damage. Ugh. All right, well, there's 1 clue here. And the shroud in the science building is a 2. A trail of vicious ooze snakes through the halls of the science building's first floor, leading down into the basement. Well, who knows what that's going on here? All right, so that was our third action. Now we got to investigate this. We got to investigate this clue. So it's only a shroud of 2. Her investigation is a 2, and I really don't want to use this card yet, but I'm gonna get to. We gotta find the janitor. So we're gonna utilize Look What I Found, which is 2 gets here, so that adds 2 of these to here. So it's 4 over 2 in order to get this clue. So 4 over 2. That is a 12. It's a skull minus 1. Minus 1 which is here. Minus 1 if you fail, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. But it is not. We don't fail. It's a 3, so we get the clue. We get the clue. The thing about it is, I have to get, this costs me an action in order to do that, in order to spend the clue. So I've already done my 3 actions. So now I have to wait till my next turn to spend the clue to try to find the janitor. So we get the clue in the science building. But that's it we do at least have the clue. And hopefully he's here early in the top of in these decks. So that's it for that. Reset the actions back to 0. There are no enemies, so we get ourselves a card, and that is Kukri. We get that again, which is a fight card, and we get a resource. All right, so Mythos phase. Doom goes on the track, so now there is 5 in the Quiet Halls, and we draw a card, and it is again Ancient Evils. Dang, these 2. That's the second time in a week that 2 of these cards were put together, and trust me, I shuffled this deck pretty good. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. So now there are 6 Doom on here. So the agenda will advance on the next one. Wonderful. But at least there's no enemies so far, but we got to do something quickly here before that agenda advances. All right, so back to her phase. So we spend a clue. We spend the clue to discard the top 10 cards of the encounter deck to see if the janitor shows up. 1, 2, yep, got him. There he is, Jazz Mulligan. But you still discard the others. So you discard 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You still discard the 10 cards, but we did find them. So we do get Jazz Mulligan. Revelation. Put Jazz Mulligan into play at your location. While Jazz Mulligan is not controlled by an investigator, he gains action parley, test 3 intelligence. If successful, take control of Jazz Mulligan. While you control Jazz Mulligan, you ignore the text on each unrevealed Miskatonic location. So he is here in the science building, so we found him here. And that was our first action, was to spend the clue. Now we have to take control of him before we can move this act. So I got to control him. In order to get control, I have to parley, and I have to test my intelligence. Her intelligence is a 2. And I have no help in the cards. So I have to control him first before I can do anything. So while Jazz Mulligan is not controlled by an investigator, he gains action parley, test 3. If successful, take control of Jazz Mulligan. So because the objective is when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, you advance. So now I got to parley with him. So my second action, I got to parley. And her thing here is only 2, and it's 3. So I got to get, pretty much I need a 2 or a 3 or a 20 in order to succeed, in order to get him. So let's see what we do. That is a 1, and it's an automatic fail. So now we try again, a third. That is a 9, and that's a -1, and that's a fail. Now, the thing about that is, this is what, now, this is there, though. What we do is we failed that. So after you fail a skill test, we exhaust the rabbit's foot and draw a card, which we did. So we get a card here to help out, and we get Arcane Studies, which gives us a little help of intelligence there on the next turn. I really should have done that on the second turn, but I didn't. So I still got to deal with Jazz Mulligan here to try to get him on my side. But that was my third action. So third action is done. And now we go to the enemy's phase. And Mulligan is not an enemy. So there's no enemy. So we go upkeep. So we draw a card, getting emergency cash. We get some resources and another resource. We got plenty of resources here for Agnes. All right, Mythos phase. Well, we place a Doom on the track, and that will advance the agenda. So the agenda will be advanced. Something stirs. The university is dead silent. The shadows coil about your feet as you walk, and you swear there is something following you with each step you take. Is it just your imagination, or is there really someone or something stalking you? Each investigator with 5 or more cards in his or her discard pile takes 1 horror. Each investigator with 10 or more cards in his or her discard pile takes 2 horror instead. If the players have completed the House Always Wins, advance directly to Agenda 2B. That we have not. If Extracurricular Activity is the first scenario in this campaign, advance to Agenda 2A. So let's see. So first of all, how many cards do we have in our discard pile? And we have 1, 2, 3. We have 5. So we take a horror. So she now has 3 horror on her. Okay. So she has 3 horror on her now. Now we go to Agenda 2A. Professor Rice's disappearance isn't the only thing amiss at the university. You're unsure exactly what is going on, but you're starting to believe Armitage was right in asking for your help. Each investigator's maximum hand size is reduced by 3 while checking his or her hand size during the upkeep phase. So instead of 8 now, we can't go any higher than 5. And right now we have 5 in the hand. So right now we have 5 in the hand. So. Well, I still got to get Rice's. I still got to take control of Jazz Mulligan, and we draw a card. And we have an enemy, and it is a Thrall. Spawn, location with the most clues, and retaliate. Well, there is no location with the most clues. So I'm going to say, I'm going to spawn this Thrall. A malevolence has overtaken their minds, turning them into soulless puppets. So this Thrall just showed up. And location with the most clues. Well, if that's the case, if there is no location with the most clues, I believe I can choose where I want to put it. And I'm going to put it in the humanities building and not worry about it. There are no clues there, but I already got the clue here. So I'm not, and it's going to stay there at the humanities building. So, all right. An enemy, but I don't have to deal with it. First action. Well, I got to get Jazz Mulligan on my side. So we're going to go ahead and use two resources to put out Arcane Studies. And Arcane Studies says spend a resource, get +1 willpower. Spend a resource, get +1 investigation. So that was the first action. So second action, we're going to go ahead and try to parley with him again. But now it's a 2, but we'll spend a resource to get +1, so it's a 3. So now we're 3 on 3. We'll parley with him. That is a 2, and we got it. It's +1, so we got him. So we now have control of Jazz Mulligan. So now We ignored the text of each unrevealed Miskatonic location, and now Mulligan is now an ally. So now he comes over here to join us. And now we can advance the act. So when you take control of Jazz Mulligan, you advance. The experiment is loose. You convince Jazz that something strange is going on and that Professor Rice may be in danger. He doesn't trust you enough to hand you his keys, but agrees to come with you. All of a sudden, you hear a crash coming from the science building, and a student rushes toward you. "Help!" he cries. "There's some kind of animal loose in the chem labs. I only barely caught a glimpse of it, but," he shudders, I think it's heading for the dorms. You've got to do something." If the Alchemy Labs location is not in play, put it into play. If you are at Agenda 1 or 2, spawn the set aside the experiment in the Alchemy Labs. If you completed the House Always Wins, put the set aside alchemical concoction to play underneath the Alchemy Labs. If extracurricular activity is the first scenario of the campaign, remove the set aside alchemical concoction from the game instead. Well, this is the first scenario of the game. So this alchemical concoction is gone. So that disappears. So now we spawn the set aside the experiment in the Alchemy Labs. So here's the experiment right there, and that is a nasty thing. So that is a nasty thing right there. The experiment. Let's see. We'll have a look at it here. The experiment. Something went terribly wrong. It's massive. The experiment gets +3 health, so its health is 10. Forced when the enemy phase begins. Ready the experiment. Objective: if the experiment is defeated, advance to Act 3B. All right. So the experiment is loose. So whatever it was there in the Alchemy Labs, it's on its way out. And we are at Agenda 2, so the experiment in the Alchemy Labs comes out. So now we go to Act 3A, and let's see what it says here. Act 3A, Campus Safety. You have only moments to react. You could warn the students in the dormitories and escort them to safety, or continue your task of searching the faculty offices for Professor Rice. Or perhaps you could try to slay the beast that threatens the campus. Find and complete an objective on another encounter card. All right, well. So we have to complete an objective. We have to complete an objective in order to do something with this. So right now the experiment is stuck in the Alchemy Labs. All right, so in our second action, so our first action was, our second action, we did go ahead and take Jazz Mulligan. So our third action now is we got to complete a objective somewhere. And as much as I want to find Professor Rice, I think we got to save the students. So for our third action, we're going to move from the science building. I'm going to head to the dormitories. So I'm going to head to the student union. So the third action here, we could go into the Alchemy Labs, which I think would be dumb, because we do not have the ability to take this thing out right now with only 2, although she does have good willpower ability. So our third action, we're going to move from the science building back to the Miskatonic quad. So that was our third action. We got to warn the students. We still have a thrall here in the humanities building, but right now it's over here, and that's where I put it. That doesn't have the most clues, so we don't have to worry about this. We don't have to worry about this thrall. All right, so that's our third action. So enemy phase. The experiment is staying put, and the thrall is not moving. There's no hunter, so it stays put there. So the enemies aren't doing anything. So we reset the actions, and we draw a card, and we get a stray cat. Our hand is at 5, so I don't have to discard anything, and we get a resource. All right, so let's continue now. So we got this monster, this experiment now about to go all crazy, or I think we got to save the kids. So let's do this. Okay. And of course, Jazz Mulligan helping out. Is actually pretty good there too. All right, so we reset the actions. And so now we go to the mythos phase. So a Doom goes on the track, and we draw a card, and it is another locked door. Attached to the location with the most clues and without a locked door attached. The attached location cannot be investigated. Well, there are no anything with the most clues. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I'm going to put this on the science building since we just left there. Because we can choose where it goes. And that's it there. So, all right. So the locked door goes there. So luckily right now, we're actually not doing too bad here. We're actually doing pretty good. So let's continue this scenario. So let's see what we do here. All right. So stage 1. So first action, we're going to move from the Miskatonic Quad to the Student Union. Even at this late hour, you can hear a muffled chatter from inside the Student Union. Perhaps one of the students will know where Professor Rice is. Well, we move into here, and now we flip it over. Forced. After Student Union is revealed, put the set-aside dormitories into play. All right. So now we have the dormitories, which will go there. And we'll make a little room here that I can, as much as I can for room. And we'll do this here. And we'll put the dormitories here. There are 2 clues in this. There are 2 clues in the Student Union. There are 2 clues in the Student Union. There are 2 clues in the Student Union. So that was our first action, was to move in the Student Union. Now we got the dormitories. Let's see, dormitories. The door leading into the dormitories is locked. You cannot move into the dormitories. The red brick form of the west dormitory could be seen through the trees. All right, well, it's locked, but we have Jazz Mulligan here. And Jazz Mulligan, while you control him, you ignore the text on each unrevealed Miskatonic location. So he can get the keys to us here. So we ignore it because it says it's locked. So we have Jazz Mulligan to help us out, and that's why he is important for us to win this. I'm going to go ahead, though. I think I got some time, and I think I may need these clues. So, or do we just walk into the dormitories? Let's go into the dormitories. Second action, we're just going to forget the clues. Let's just go right into the dormitories. So we move into the dormitories, and we flip this over. Let's see here. Dormitories. As you explore these old, well-kept buildings, you find yourself wondering whether the beds are comfortable. Objective. If investigators in the dormitory spend 3 clues as a group, R2. And there are 3 clues here. And the shroud is not very high. So there are 3 clues in the dormitories. There are 3 clues. And we only have to spend 3 clues as a group. And that will complete the act. So let's go ahead and get these clues. The shroud is not high. It's only a 1. So, and her thing here is a 2. So for our third action, we will investigate. And we'll use the arcane studies, spend a resource to get a +1 for the arcane studies. So it's going to be 3 over 1. So a 3 over 1 is not bad. And that is an 11. It's a -2, and we still got it. So 1 over 1. So we gain a clue. All right. So that was our third action, but we're going to have to wait till the next turn to see what we can do, guys. So let's see. So that's it. So there's no enemies. There is an enemy, but the experiment is staying where it's at so far, and this thrall is staying put. So we go, so no enemy phase, no hunters. So we go to upkeep. So we draw a card, and that is Lucky. That's a nice card to have. And we get a resource. Now we have to lose a card because of the upkeep of Dead of Night, and I'm going to go ahead and discard Ritual Candles. So we stay at 5. All right. All right, Mythos phase. So a Doom goes on here. We draw a card, and it is Offer of Power. You must either choose one, draw 2 cards, and place 2 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance or take 2 Horror. Well, I'm not going to put it, I'm going to take the 2 Horror again because we don't want to advance the agenda. So she is now at 5 Horror, but her Horror is an 8. And I think we might be able to save the kids. So let's see what happens. We got lucky again, really. We're taking Horror, but Agnes is doing what she can. We think we got to save the kids. We got to get these, we have to get these clues. All right, so dormitories. We got to get 2 more clues. So first action, we'll investigate. We'll investigate the first action. I don't think we're going to get to Rice. I think we got to save the kids from this thing. So the first is so it's a 1. She's a 2, and we'll spend a resource to make. We'll spend a resource to get +1 as a 3. You can actually spend more than 1. We can actually spend a whole bunch of resources if we want to get as high as we want here. So it is a 3, and pretty much that should be good enough because we know that -2 is the worst it can be. The only way we can fail, I believe, is on a 1 here. So the first investigation is a 3. So 3 over 1, that is a 4. That is a 0. We succeed. We get that clue. Second action, we'll do it again. Make it again 2 and +1 here, which makes it a 3. So again, 3 over 1. That is a 15, and that's a reroll. 19 is a reroll. 12 is a skull and says -1. If you fail, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. -1 makes it a 2. We succeed. We get the third clue. And for our third action, and we also get a victory point. So we have 2 victory points for me to try to upgrade the deck that I'm using here. So I got 2 now. Let's see. So for the third action, I think for the third action, we go straight to the second resolution and get the kids out. So I think that's what we do here. So for the third action, we're going to spend the 3 clues as a group, and we're going to see what happens here. So we'll spend the 3 clues, and we go right to resolution 2, and the scenario will come to an end. So now let's go to resolution 2, and let's see what happens. Resolution 2. You pull each of the dormitory's fire alarms and usher the students out of the building's north exit, hoping to make your way off campus. Many of the students are confused and exhausted, but you believe an attempt to explain the situation will do more harm than good. Minutes later, a terrible screech echoes across the campus, piercing and shrill. You tell the students to wait and head back to the dormitories to investigate. Oddly, you find no trace of the strange creature, a prospect that worries you more than it relieves you. You hurry to the faculty offices to find Professor Rice, but there is no sign of him anywhere. So Professor Warren Rice was kidnapped, the students were rescued, and we get victory X value of each card in the victory display. So that was 1 here and 1 here, which was 2. And that is it. If this is the first scenario of the campaign, then next time, so this was the first scenario of the campaign, we proceed to scenario 1B, the house always wins. And that will be next week. So we couldn't find Professor Warren Rice, but we got the kids out. So we don't know what's going to happen with this, but I have a funny feeling we will see this thing later. But we got the kids out of the dormitories, and Agnes Baker took no damage, but 5 horror, but she'll heal up for the next one. So that's it here. So we did pretty good this time to start off the Dunwich Legacy. We got to find out what's happening here. I will be honest with you. I have been watching playthroughs of this. I have been watching playthroughs of the scenario before I play this, so I do have a little bit of a. Since I am streaming this, I do want to have a little bit of a background of what to do, so you guys can watch it. But even though I watch playthroughs, just because somebody won his adventure of this, all right, it doesn't mean I will, because what happens in his encounter deck might not occur in my encounter deck or my investigator deck. So absolutely, just because I might know what may happen, it doesn't mean it will happen depending on how the decks go. So trust me, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. So that is extracurricular activity. Next week will be scenario 1B, the house always wins, in the Dunwich Legacy campaign. And we'll try to see if we can find the other guy. And we have to go to, I believe, a gambling hall to see how that goes. And I think that's going to be fun to play. So we did pretty good this time with Agnes. She'll stay as our Agnes Baker will stay as the investigator until she is horrified or killed. And then, of course, we'll choose another investigator after that, and we'll see what happens. ID Jester, Steeler fan, BBBB, Brian Patterson, thank you for joining me for some Saturday Night Horror. And we'll see you next week for more Arkham Horror, the card game, the Dunwich Legacy, scenario 1B, the house always wins. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay smart, stay strong, and hail Cthulhu.